Okay, welcome back everyone to the first day of programming basics. Let's go ahead and take a look at our calendar. At 1 Mountain Time, I asked you guys to go read through this material, even though we had already covered it, because I am going to do a little quiz right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to use a new tool here, so I'm just getting acquainted with this tool I got. See if I can get it to work. All right, first question here. What is a variable? Oh, that's so hideous. Let me try that again. Restart. All right.
That's fancy there.
One. What? It's like I'm writing on this pad, but I'm looking at the screen. Is a variable. There we go. Let's get some answers in the chat. Here we go. I'm reading it now. A container that holds a value. Yep. So let's write all the answers that we can. A container that holds a value. And holds a value. Let's get some more definitions. A statement that can be assigned and hold values. That's more or less along the same lines. A place to store memory or data. Yeah, so stores data. What else? It's a container. Okay, what are some properties of a variable? Give me some I know we all know what it is, but let's describe it. I'm looking for they are assignable. Okay. That's more along the lines of what I'm looking for. They can be manipulated. Let's write these down. These are still good. Can be one can assign values. These are data values. Okay. And what I'm looking for, what a variable has. I'm trying not to give the answer without saying it. What does a variable have? It's a container, right? So what does a container have? What's the property of the container? Value. You put stuff in it, so that's the value part. So that's the first part. But what else does it have? A size, structure,
data.
colder.
Like a box that moves it around.
A label, a name. I'm looking for a name. All variables have a name. So when you declare a variable, you have to give that variable a name. Variables have labels. Name. Okay. Now, what type of data can we put in a variable? Now we're going into data types.
Well, anything that has value.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm looking for what the types of values that we receive are strings and numbers.
Right.
Oh, I'm getting better at writing. Okay. So strings and numbers. are different types of values. Any other types of values that we've introduced so far?
So values are data types, right? And is that kind of the same lingo there? Data types are values, values are strings and numbers, right?
Yeah, so the types of data will always be one of these values, strings or numbers. Sorry, I'm hearing sirens behind me. I'm not sure if it's leaking in. Okay, so there we go. Boolean is another type of answer I'm looking for. Thank you. So Boolean. And what's a Boolean?
True, false statement.
True. That is true.
True or false?
True or false. And we also have a couple more types of values. We have, we've introduced undefined. Oh, I have no more writing space. Let's clear this out. We have undefined. Oh, that didn't look good. Undefined. And we also have null. When is a value undefined?
When it's not called to or set specifically.
No specific value set. No specific value is set. And what about null? What is null?
Null is similar to undefined.
Okay. How?
The-
Null has to be assigned to null.
Yes, it's an assigned value.
Null does not equal undefined.
Assigned value. So sometimes we want to say this value has no value. This variable has no value at all. It's a null. It's different from not defining a value. So for example, this is just a rough example here. In college, I lived in a share house, and there was this guy that would come over to the parties, and anytime you asked his name, he would say, "My name is no name." Okay, that would be like a null value. He's giving you his name, but he's defining it as no name. And anytime we referred to him, we would just say, "Hey, that's no name," because he didn't. That's what he said when you asked him his name. My name is no name. But that would have been different than if we say, if we were to ask no name, "Hey, what's your name?" and he didn't give an answer at all. If he just stayed quiet and didn't respond to that question, that's more along the lines of undefined. Okay. But since he did give an answer and his answer was no name, that's more like a null. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the difference. It's a subtle difference, but it's there. Okay. Yeah, this was a real guy. We had long conversations. He had deep philosophic thoughts on the government and everything. I don't want to get into that guy. But let's go ahead and move along to the platform. Man, I can't believe I just remembered no name. He came in handy right there. Oh gosh. Okay. So here we have some examples. We have the first name Gareth, last name O'Neill. We have var age and height. And in this height, we have a string. And we know that if a string is defined by everything in quotations, and if a string has a number, it remains a string. So if a number is just like this without a string, it's still a number value. But if we see here below on height, let's see if I can get this tool to work. It won't work. There we go. On height, this here, 5 feet 9 inches, this is all a string, even though it has number values. Okay. Even the spaces in between are added to the string. They're part of the string. Okay. So if I, for example, said var example. I've been listening to this. Okay, let me just try that again. Just listening to this guy with an accent, he spells everything with a P where there's a V. Var example equals 5. Is example a number or a string?
Oh, can you say that again?
This variable is a string because the question was, is this a number? Is this value, what type is it? Is it a number or a string? And the answer is it's a string because it's within the quotations. Okay. So let's take this little quiz. I think we already took it, but let's just take it anyways. Yes?
Well, since they're both, the thing was throwing me off just a little bit is you got the var and you got age, you got var, you got height. They both have number indications. I'm just trying to think when it comes to the string versus the number. I know the quotations is the string, but yet it still has numbers inside the string. So when I'm going through and I'm coding and I'm trying to determine when to use strings when I'm implementing numbers per se, when's a good time to implement it as a string or just put it in as a number? It's
for now, you don't need to know when is a good time. I mean, in the future, when we're doing more difficult algos, we'll be adding in the very near future, we'll be adding numbers to strings. And when we do that, that will be a whole string in itself. But for now, anything, just all you need to know is anything within quotes is a string, no matter if it's a number, letter, space, anything in the quotes is a string. Does that answer your question, Justin?
It sounds like you're going to go in more depth later on down the road, so I'll probably get into more depth as we go. But for right now, I guess since we'll just continue going on, just continue going forward.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I think I understood your question. I just wanted to keep it basic because there's going to be future examples where we touch on what you asked more specifically here. So,
all right.
For number 1, what's the name of the variable? I think everyone said string. Gareth. Okay, so what is the name of the variable that has Gareth assigned to it? Gareth. Oh, first name. There we go.
First name.
Yeah. Okay, what is the difference between the first name and the age variables?
First string and the other one's a number.
Okay, so which one of these answers? 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Let's see here.
I'll go ahead and read them. First name is a string of characters. Age is numeric. It sounds like along the lines of what you said there. First name is numeric. Age is a string of characters. That sounds like the opposite of what we're looking for. First name is a title. Age is a subtitle. And there is no difference. So we'll go with this one. Okay. And the bonus question here.
String.
Okay.
String.
So which answer is it here? Indicates something in the computer reads out loud text to speech. Indicates a string of characters. That seems more like it. Indicates something that is likely to change. Doesn't include anything. What is the difference between the age and the height variables? 1, height is a numerical while age is a string of characters. 2, age is numerical while height is a string of characters.
2.
3, height is changeable while age isn't, and there is no difference. So we see the results now, and here we got all the answers correctly. Okay, good. Glad you guys are getting this. Now let's go over this section here.
For now.
We're getting it for now, and that's all we need.
For now.
Because because we're only living in the now right now. Okay, so we have var my num equals 5, var my other num equals 10. So if we console log here, and remember the console is just a portion on our screen that we want to print results to. Okay, our console is going to add these two variables, my num plus my other num. It's going to take the value of these variables and add them together. So then we get 15. Now, what if we said this? Var my num equals 5 and var, what is it? My other num? My other num equals 10. And then we said console.log my num plus my other num. What would be the result?
15.
Let's get a vote in the chat. So the console area, I'm going to put it like right here, like a box. Good guess, Spencer.
String.
So because they're both strings, we're just going to add these strings together as if they were words and not numbers. So we're going to say 5, 1, 0.
Huh.
Because these are not numbers, these are strings. We're adding strings together now. Okay.
Oh, so okay, so if they're numbers, that's the only time it would be like an addition, right?
Yes.
And then okay.
And so
That's
this
the
is
food for
called
thought.
concatenation. When you take two strings and you add them together, you are concatenating the strings together. That's the technical term. So in this case, we get 510. Sorry?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. Concatenation?
Yeah, concatenation. Okay. What if 10 didn't have
Lord.
quotations over it? What would we get?
The same thing, but with a space in between.
How would we check that? So let's go over trace right now. So this is a tool that we can use whenever we have assignments that are asking us what the value of something is going to be. We can use this app called Trace, the one that I struggled with in the first lecture, to show us what we're looking for exactly. Okay, so I'm going to leave here for a second. I'm going to go here to Trace, and I'm going to introduce this tool here so that we can know how to use it exactly. Okay, so we have we have to go to this section here. Whenever you want to edit the code, you have to go to this code switch. You have to click the code switch because you can't edit the code when you're on the replay. So if you try to edit anything here, you'll have this little notification. So you have to go to the code. Okay. And then you have this function that says export function main, these parentheses, an open curly bracket, and then you have a console that says starting trace JavaScript demo. Okay. I'm going to comment out this console log so we don't have to see it every time. So in order to do that, I just do a double slash right before the console.log. And then on line 17, it says run demo. Okay. And as we look at our code here, before I had a lot more code on here and I've erased it and I've replaced it with something else here. I'm still going to keep the name for this function run demo, and I'm going to delete this this variable here. And I'm going to delete everything inside run demo. So I'm going to delete this for loop. I'm going to delete this console, even though it's commented. I just don't want to see it there. And I'm going to delete this part that says array. So now here I have from line 26, from line 20 to 26, I have this function. Okay, and this is how a function looks like. Okay, we have the keyword function, just like the word var indicates everything coming after it is going to be a variable. This keyword function says everything coming after it is going to be the name of the function. So this function's name is run demo. So when I want to call this function, because right now it's just defined. Line 20 to 23, this is saying, here, I'll use this analogy. This is like the microwave, okay? And line 17 is the start button to the microwave. Okay? This is the whole thing. This is the whole machine. This is the function.
Oh, okay, that helps.
This line 17 is the start button on the microwave. So this function is just defined. A microwave doesn't run itself. You have to press the start button. Line 17 is the start button. So whenever you see the name of the function and a parentheses next to the name, this is the invocation of the function. It's like I'll use another analogy. This is the spell in the spell book. Line 17 is the waving of the wand. This is like saying abracadabra. Okay, it's written in the book, but it's not going to say itself. So line 17 is the starting of it. So for now, all you need to know is whenever you want to run a function on this app called Trace, you just need to write the name of the function and then the parentheses, open and close parentheses to invoke it, to start it. So now here we have a function, we have the name, and whenever we write a function in JavaScript, we give it a name. In this case, I'm just going with the name that's already given me, run demo. Then I have an open and close parentheses here. And this is just a standard way of writing a function. This open and close parentheses is where we put our parameters, is where we put the stuff inside the microwave. So like, for example, I can create a variable above here, var, what's the name for a variable? Var example. I'm just going to say example.
Name, age,
var example, I'm going to say equals 5. Okay. I'm just going to give it a number value. In this parentheses here, this is where we put the stuff into the microwave, okay? So I'm going to put the food in the microwave. I'm just going to say example here. Okay? Now that there's something in here, it's this function is going to take in a variable, okay? It doesn't do anything with it. It's just a container right now. This function just takes in the variable. So in this section here, I'm going to make the machine actually do something. I'm going to say console.log, and then I'm going to say the name of the thing that's inside that we've just given the function. So I'm going to say example. Okay. And now it just lit up. It went from gray to black because it just recognized it's going to do something with this example that we've just given it. It's going to take this var example defined on line 19. And when I press play, it's going to log it to the console. Okay. So let's see if I run this, if I've done this correctly, we should see the value of the variable logged into the console. And it's undefined. Why is it undefined? Maybe because this sort of...
a bad microwave.
a bad microwave. Yeah, you know what? Let's write it inside the function. Sometimes there's a bit of a learning curve with this new version here. So I'm gonna say var example equals 5. I'm gonna just define it inside the function here. And I don't think I need this line anymore, so I'm gonna delete this here. Okay, so now let's run it. I'm threatening my computer now, so I think it's getting a little scared. Okay, it's going through line by line, and as soon as it hit line 23, it console logged 5 for me. Okay, I don't even need to define example here. It's like we're building the microwave with the food inside of it. All right. I'll figure out why it didn't work the first time. It might be just some simple rule having to do with this here export function main. If I were to run it on Visual Studio Code, it should have run perfectly. So there's a bit of a learning curve with this, and there's a little bit of a difference between how it runs here versus Visual Studio Code. But in this case, you can see this is how a function works. It's defined this way. On line 22, we give a variable, and on line 23, we say every time we press play on this function, on line 17, it will console log whatever this variable's value is. Okay. Whenever we run functions, we want to create a table that shows our work. So like when we were in algebra class in junior high, high school, whatever time we took algebra, and we got so good that we didn't need to actually do the work. We could intuitively know how the math problem was supposed to act, right? And we would give our answers, and sometimes our teachers would say, I want you to show your work. I want you to prove that you knew how to get the specific answer. So a T-diagram is a way to do that. So let me try to use this writing pad here. Okay. Let me exit out of this because here we are. Every time I press that button, it wants to do that. Okay. I know what to do. It's right over here. Okay, so let me go ahead and write a T-diagram. Show you exactly what we're doing here. Let's see here. Here we go. So now here's a T-diagram. It's just a table. And this is the way we're going to show our work. So on the left, I have a list of my variables. And on the right, I have what those variables values are. So in this case, it's going to be very simple. When we look at our function here, we see the first variable is called example. So on this section of the table, we're going to say example. And example equals 5. So we're going to say the value is 5. Okay. And we're also going to have a console log section. So we're going to write a little area. And who can tell me what the console is? Give me a basic definition.
What shows outputted by the code?
Yeah, it's a place to put, it's a place to print something. It's a place to print something. So if I were to show what would be in the console here, I would log the value of example, because on line 23, we say console.log example. So we're going to write 5 here. Okay. So let's get some feedback 1 to 10 on how we are understanding the concept of the T diagram. We'll go over this so many times, you'll be sick of it every time we do it. So don't worry if it's not making complete sense now. We'll beat you over the head with this T diagram concept. And we'll do this with the Algo app, but we'll get to there in a second. Okay, so here we have the variable my string variable. My name is Jeff. So we console log, and when we invoke the name of the variable here, the console is going to print the value of that variable. So it's going to say my name is Jeff. Okay. Here we have 2 variables. The first one is a string with numbers inside of it, and the second one is a number. So what were to happen if I said, for example, let's see here, console.log example of string with number inside. So I'm just going to call this example 1, because I don't want to write that whole thing, plus example of number.
Oh, man.
What's the value that I'm going to get here? We're adding a string now to a number. Spencer's got it. Because a string is not a number, it's just a value that contains numbers in it, we're going to get exactly what Spencer wrote in the chat. So it would be, I was born in 1985, plus we got the number added to it, 1985. In order to prove this, we are going to go to our handy trace app here, and we are just going to copy these 2 here. We are going to overwrite this. I'm just going to highlight it, delete it, paste it. And then here, I'm going to add them together. I'm going to say console.log example string with number inside plus example of number. So we have our function here. Everything's defined inside the function, and the function is going to console log these 2. So let's see if I got the answer right. If Spencer got the answer right. Goes through this, line 22, line 23, 26. And yes, we got it right. I was born in 1985, 1985. It added the number at the end of the string. It's concatenated now. Okay. when we console log a variable without a value, we said we put no equal sign. And by the way, one equal sign is assigning the value. It's different than adding two equal signs or three equal signs. Keep that in mind. One equal sign by itself is saying this is what the value is going to equal. We're giving you this value here. Okay? But without any equal sign at all, the console log is going to log undefined. It's like that no name example. If you ask no name, what's his name, and he doesn't say anything at all, it's going to be undefined. Okay, that's different than if we give it a null value. All right, Boolean. We've gone over this. We said var ninja equals true. So if we console log the value of, if we console log is ninja, we're going to get back a true. If it was false, we would get back a false. Okay. This is something we already went over. Commented code. As you can see on this trace app, anytime I put a double slash before something, so for, if I put double slash before line 23, oh, gotta go to this section here, and I run this code, we are going to get an error because the console log is, you're asking the console to log this example of number. And when it goes looking for this, it's going to see online, it's not going to find it at all. You're basically hiding this whole entire line. It's as if it doesn't exist. It only exists to you, the reader, when you put a double slash in front of it. So if I run this, let's see what happens. It says example of number is not defined. So when I asked it to console log example of number, it broke because it's hidden on line 23. When you put a double slash in from something, it's going to hide it. Okay. Let's go ahead and move along. We've already done this. Basically, you're just adding these two numbers together. We're going to get 15 here, right? Because this is a number, this is a number. Nothing is within quotes, so it's treating it as math. It's not concatenating together like it would be a string. It's actually going to add it together because there's no quotations around the numbers.
How to get it to subtract? You have to put a negative in front of a number. Does it automatically add or sum? Do you have to put like print? Do you have to put like a minus sign or an X or like a time sign in order to time stuff? How does that work?
Yep, exactly. So let's just go ahead and I can tell you, but I'd rather show you here. So I'm going to copy this. Copy, please. I'm going to replace this here. I use my keyboard shortcuts. Got to be in this section. Always remember to go here. Okay, now I have it here. So you want to subtract. So there's two ways to do this. I'm going to comment out this console log. I can put in a minus sign here.
Oh.
That will do it. I can play with negative numbers as well. I can make this a -5. I can also multiply, so I can add a multiplication symbol. Let's take a look. It's going to run through. As soon as it gets to 24, 5 times 10 is 50. So we get a 50. If I were to put a minus sign, it would subtract. We can also play with the decimal values as well. So good question. Thank you, Justin. All right. Now, do we have any questions about strings, numbers? What happens if we add a string to a number? It's all going good? Okay. Fantastic. Now, I'm going to go over some of today's assignments. For today, we have, by the end of the day, we want you to work on level 1 of the Algo app. And the homework is read through a tool testing your JavaScript code. So let's try to get to there by the end of the day for your homework. So here we have a coding challenge. The purpose of this assignment is to prepare you to figure out what variables we need to create to solve a problem. Using VS Code, create a project, zip it, and submit it. Okay. So we have VS Code. We're going to write our code in here. We have this name convention that we want you to use. And then here's the story. A local park has a ride where the rider must be at least 42 inches tall to ride and is over the age of 10. They've hired a development agency. You work to build an app where once it measures the rider's height and age, the app will display whether the rider is tall enough and old enough to ride the roller coaster. You've been tasked with building the variables for this app. So identify what variables are and need to determine if a rider can ride the roller coaster. Okay, so let's just start with step 1. And I don't want to do this assignment for you. I just want to point you in the right direction. When you read this problem here, what are some variables that come to mind?
The age and the height.
Exactly. So age and height can vary from person to person going through this measurement. You have to check both. So that age and height is just going to be a container for numbers. Everyone has an age and a height. So every person is a variable. You are constantly changing your age, and you're constantly, well, not anymore. If you got to that certain point, maybe you're changing your size by your width, but your height is going to stay the same unless you're growing, right? So that can be a variable for a certain period of time as well. Okay, so we've identified some variables. We know how to write variables, so go ahead and write those in Visual Studio Code. And in the same file, use comments to explain what the variables must be in order to ride the ride. Very simple, very rudimentary stuff, okay? We have to start with the basics before we get complex here. So that's the first challenge. We already did part 1. Now we also want to go through level 1 of this Algo app. Okay, so if you haven't started on this Algo app, you want to get started on it soon. Okay, this is today's work. So let's go to the Algo app here. I think I have it open somewhere. Here we are. Can you guys see that all right?
Yeah.
So this is the T diagram that we already introduced. Just how I wrote that T, and I said variable on the left, values on the right. All we do here is keep track of our work. Okay, even if we don't feel like that work is going to be necessary, we always want to get in the habit of doing it. Do it for the sake of your interview. If you solve an algorithm during your interview and you can T diagram, you look even better than if you can't, or if you don't. So variable, we just take a look at our variables. Variable x equals 5. So we're going to say variable, we can take a note here. X, and the value of x right now is 5. And then step 2 is going to be to console log 5. So we're going to treat this area below. Let's see, this area, let me see if I can highlight it. Sure you guys can see it, but I'm trying to make use of these tools here. Draw. You guys will see how frustrating it can be to annotate here on Zoom when you start doing it for yourselves here. Okay, here we are. This area is the console. So whatever the value of 5 is going to be, so console log x, we're gonna take the value of x, which is right here, 5, and we're gonna enter it in there. When you get it, click submit. And if you are struggling with understanding how it's correct, even if you got it right, sometimes that may be the case, you can click on this and it'll explain in a video how this is calculated. If you get it so many times wrong, you can still watch the video and check for yourself. Another way you can check yourself is by using this trace app. So you can say, what was the name of the variable here? X equals 5. So you can say var x. I'm on the replay section. Var x equals 5. And then we just want to console log x. So we just say within this console log, just give me x. And we can see here what the console is going to print. Don't rely on this too much. Try to do the T diagramming as your first step. Then if you get stuck, you can use this to check what the variable is going to check. You have to write it within this function section called run demo. Once you run it, it will run. The reason why we picked this website for trace for running is because it goes line by line on the app, and we want it to be slow just so you can see exactly how the code is going to iterate through each line. So when it got to line 23, when it highlighted line 23, I think I can even pause it step by step here. So it recognized variable x equals 5. Now x, before this, it was undefined. And then after reading line 22, as you can see here on the right, there's a T diagram section here. This is the T diagram. This is the var and the value section. So here we'd have var. Here we'd have value. Oh, no, I messed it up. Okay. And as I continue here, once it read past line 23, it's going to console.log x. So it's going to take the value of x and print it here to this area that says terminal. It's the same as our console. Okay, that is enough to get you started. You can go further into the Algo app if you feel more confident, but don't expect a lot of help if you get too far ahead. Stick with what the lesson plans are for the day. Okay, we're learning a lot of new information for people that haven't started coding yet. So stick with just level 1 for now. Okay. So what else should I cover here? I think that's pretty much it for the day. I just wanted to show you guys a T diagram, variables and different types of values that they can have, and what it means to console log something. It's an area where you print something. Right, so that being said, the homework is this section here. You can always click a link if you don't know where to find it in the platform. And it's all the way down past conditionals. Okay. So go on ahead reading through variables, get through the Algo app, read order of operations, and everything in this, yeah, this is week 1, day 2, but we'll be covering these topics in lecture, even if you read ahead. So we do want you to read ahead and do some of the homework in advance of the topics that we're talking about. So when we actually lecture on those topics, you have better questions on why it works a certain way. Okay, so that is the part of strength through struggle. You're going to struggle a little bit on your own with concepts we haven't introduced. And then if we need any clarity, we're going to cover it during our lectures. So here's some more console logging. Here's now multiplication. We're getting into orders of operation. When you put something within a parentheses, it's going to give a different result than if you don't. Okay. Anytime you do an assignment, anytime you see an assignment, you're going to want to do the reading beforehand. So for example, code challenges, create variables. Everything leading up to this point is going to instruct me on how to pass this section here. Everything leading up to the knowledge check, the tinker concepts, everything leading up is going to build my knowledge to get to this section. So build yourself all the way up to read up and through a tool testing your JavaScript code. So that is all the way past arrays, past commenting, past conditionals, and then you get to here. And then the challenge afterward is code challenge, get on that ride. This is going to be more of building a function yourself that's going to check those variables that you created, age and height. Okay, and everything you need to do this assignment is going to be in the reading beforehand. Okay. So with that being said, do we have any questions, any specific questions about topics we've covered today? So what happens if we add a string and a number?
You'll just have the string and number combined together, but it won't add them. You'll just put them side by side.
Exactly. Okay, good. Now let's see if we can get this one. It will concatenate. Nice, Spencer. What is the console?
Oh. It prints it.
Yep, it's the area where we print things. Area where we print things. What is the difference between defining a function and invoking a function?
You need to define it by creating it with like function, name of function, and then whatever parameters, and then you need to call it to actually run the code.
Yes, invoking it is calling it, is pressing the start button. You call the name of you invoke it by saying the name of the function, and then the two parentheses, the beginning and ending parentheses. And the function itself is going to be like a variable where you say function, then the name of the function, then the parentheses is going to be wherever you take in values, and then the curly brackets within the opening and closing curly brackets is where the function does its work. Okay, I think that's going to be it for today's lecture. Thank you guys for participating as much as you do. I really appreciate it. It's only going to help you in the end. Okay, so we have this week on Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to have our first exam. And Friday is going to be the exam retake. You're going to need to pass these to move on to the next week. Okay, so getting these concepts down seems a bit redundant right now, but you're going to need to understand these in order to get to day 2, Wednesday, or Tuesday, and then Wednesday. And you only have 2 more days after this to get ready for your test on Thursday. Okay, it's not extremely difficult, and it's going to help you a lot to get into web fundamentals. All right, so that ends today's lecture. Let's go ahead and move along. Stop share.